Special stuff out of a special player. Daniel Berger taking a look at the scorecard here. Just one back to the field there at number 8, his lone bogey, but eagles at 2 and finishing it out in style with an eagle on 18. 4 eagles on the week for Daniel Berger. He becomes just the 3rd player in the last 30 years to make 4 eagles at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. He's the only player to do it and win. Well, let's welcome in our guys from the First Cut podcast, Kyle Porter and Rick Gehman. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us. Daniel Berger, your 2021 Pebble Beach Pro-Am champion, fires the round of the day to do it, a 7 under 65 with an eagle at the last, doing it in style. KP, Berger doubles 18 on Saturday. The nails to sleep on that and come out the way he did today tells you what?
Well, I think it tells me what I already thought about Daniel Berger, which is he's kind of a gamer. You know, he's got a ton of skill, he's got a ton of talent. But I think he's the kind of guy that just loves to go out there and compete. You know, that doesn't always result in a ton of wins. And we like to talk about, grittiness and sort of this like ethereal thing. But it can also be real. And Berger is somebody who just likes to get after it. And that's what he did on Sunday, obviously. You know, I thought him, Rick was talking about this earlier, and I agreed with him. I thought him and Cantlay, if you look at kind of the broader tournament, I thought him and Patrick Cantlay probably played the best of anybody in the field. Now, they didn't finish 1-2, but if you just look at kind of their overall games and how they put a tournament together, it was super impressive. And for him to bounce back, that 4-stroke swing on 18 from Saturday to Sunday, to go double on Saturday, eagle on Sunday, is pretty special. And, you know, it's really big for him in a year where he's playing the Masters for the first time in quite a while. He missed it last year, kind of infamously, even though he's ranked in the top 15 in the world. And Daniel Berger's never been on a Ryder Cup team, and that'll be a big deal for him later on in the year after what has been a really impressive 12-month stretch.
Daniel Berger was a vibe all week long. To Kyle's point, yes, objectively, I think Daniel Berger played the best out of anyone in the field this weekend. On the PGA Tour, that person doesn't always win the golf tournament. But to start on Thursday and Friday getting the wrong end of the draw, playing 2 excellent rounds at both Pebble Beach, one at Pebble Beach, one at Spyglass Hill, and then to do what he did on Sunday, which was lead the field in strokes gained approach, lead the field in strokes gained tee to green. I mean, every shot that he hit and every putt that he hit, even if it didn't go in, looked like it was going to go in. I mean, he was in complete control of his game, and then he puts an exclamation point on this thing on 18 with an eagle to just wrap it up. No sweat. We don't have to worry about anybody else coming in after this if you're Daniel Berger. And to Kyle's other point, I mean, this is a year-long ascension for Daniel Berger. When he finished T5 at Pebble Beach last year, he was ranked outside the top 120 in the world. Now he's a top 15 player. This is not just a storyline of him being good since the tour returned in the summer. This is a storyline of now 12 full months of Daniel Berger being one of the best players in the world and winning in a big spot this week at Pebble Beach.
Yeah, special stuff at a special place out there at Pebble. Daniel Berger, now a 4-time winner on tour. Meanwhile, Jordan Spieth's 4-year drought continues, and we'll go that direction here next. For the 2nd straight week, Kyle Porter's Valentine leaving us heartbroken. The 54-hole leader, Jordan Spieth, begins the day 2 shots clear. He finishes 3 shots back following a final round 70. The word that comes to mind for me, at least, is glimpses. We're getting those momentary flashes of the greatness that took him to the top of the world, broken up by the frustrating habits that have plagued him for the last few years. Kate, following 2 near misses now, back-to-back weeks, hard not to carry some disappointment, but bigger picture, state of the game, where are you at with Jordan?
Well, I was actually more encouraged. Good job sliding the Valentine thing in there, by the way. I was more encouraged by this week than I was last week. And the reason for that is what he did this week, I think, is very sustainable. Now, you kind of got to look at the driver left him late in the tournament. Like the last, 12, 15 holes, he didn't hit driver very well at all. And he didn't give himself any scoring opportunities on a day where there were scoring opportunities. We saw Maverick McNeely shoot 66. We saw Berger shoot 65. So there were scores out there, and he just didn't give himself shots at it. Yeah. But if you pull back and look at the entire tournament, the reason I'm more encouraged by this week is he didn't really putt that well this week. We don't have numbers from his 2nd round at Spyglass when he shot. I think he shot 67 over there on the second day, which was really good. It was like 6 strokes better than the field. But on the 3 measured rounds at Pebble, he was a pretty average putter, and that means his tee to green work is doing what it should. It means that he's one of the best iron players in the field for 2 weeks in a row. It means that the driver was good enough at Pebble throughout the week to get him into a place where he was contending late on Sunday. So we all look back at the 61 at Phoenix, and that's fun to talk about. It shows up in the highlights. He made a bunch of bombs. That's, you know, we're going to talk about that because it's a ton of fun. But I think if you look at long-term sustainability, I'm more impressed by this week because it's very repeatable going into next week, the week after, and then on into the Masters later this spring.
Yeah, Butch Harmon, the team got that swing back in order, but now it's a matter of getting the mental to match the physical. Rick, from where you're sitting, how does he do that?
Yeah, I think this is a discussion about perception versus reality. If you would have told us a month ago that Jordan Spieth would have back-to-back top 5 finishes, Kyle and I would be foaming at the mouth. I mean, a top 5 finish is one of his best finishes in a long time. To get 2 of those in back-to-back weeks, we would have been super stoked about it. But there is going to be some idea that this was a letdown. When you have a share of the 54-hole lead or you own it through 3 rounds and you don't come up victorious, it can sting a little bit. Now, he has to realize the trajectory of his game, which has been in the bottom of the barrel for quite some time. Now he's got back-to-back good results. To Kyle's point, he's striking the ball well. That's what wins you golf tournaments on the PGA Tour. We still have this magic putter that can get hot at times. So I just think he's going to come down from this over the next couple of days. He's probably going to feel a bit disappointed, but he needs to look at the bigger picture and say, okay, I'm in a good spot right now. I'm getting that nervous energy on the weekend again. I'm in contention. That's a big part of the process that you have to trust before you start winning golf tournaments again. So that's what his team should be telling him. Obviously, easier said than done.
Now, I want to put Kyle Porter on that team for a moment here. We are scheduled to see Jordan again next week at the Genesis Invitational. I'm putting you inside that circle of trust, KP. If you had Jordan's ear for a few moments, what message are you trying to get across to take him to that next level where he's really trusting his game?
Well, Joe, you presume that I'm not already on that team, that I'm not already a paid member there. Now, I think it's a good question. And I think that, you know, the thing for him has always been let your athleticism take over, right? You know, this goes back to, and we talk a lot about this with the way he's played at Augusta in the past, the way he's played at Kapalua in the past, where, you know, you have these kind of courses that are, they create side hill lies. And he's talked about how much he likes just letting his athleticism take over on these kind of, you know, in these wonky spots on these different courses. And when he's doing that, when you can almost physically see him, you know, put the mental stuff away and just let who he is take over, that's when he's at his best. That's when he's thriving. That's when everything else just seems to go black and kind of disappear. And you know, it's easy for me, somebody on the outside, to say that. And I think he was able to do that more so over the last couple weeks. But that's the part where he's unbelievably talented, obviously. And I think he's sort of underrated in terms of what his athleticism is and what his skill set is out there on the PGA Tour compared to a DJ, compared to a Rory. I do think Spieth is a little bit underrated in that aspect. And I would just tell him, let that take over and be who you've been for the last 10 years.
Well, he finishes T3 here at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, also finishing T3, a guy who deserves some flowers right now, Patrick Cantlay. I want to read you guys results this year for Cantlay. It's a 13th, a 2nd, a 4th, and now T3 here at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Feels like a matter of time for Patrick Cantlay. He's not finished outside of the top 25 in his last 6 starts. Rick, as you assess this game, is this one of the favorites, a guy who we should have an eye on, whether we're talking wagering window, DFS, or just plain watching the tournament go down? Patrick Cantlay, it's got to be one of the top talents in the world right now.
Yeah, Patrick Cantlay's scary. I mean, even when he doesn't have his best stuff, he's able to find a way onto the first page of the leaderboard, which is not a sentiment that you can say about a lot of the guys on the PGA Tour, even at the caliber of skill that Patrick Cantlay has. I mean, to win, think about some of the golf tournaments that he's won. The Zozo Championship, that's an elite invitational field. The Memorial at Muirfield Village, one of the most difficult courses, deepest fields that we get on the PGA Tour. He shoots 2 course records in his last, 5 rounds on the PGA Tour. I mean, his ceiling is so incredibly high, but at the same time, his floor is high. It's a really interesting combination that you don't get a lot on tour. So I do think it is scary for the rest of the tour what Patrick Cantlay is able to do. I think you're able to get really good numbers on him from odds makers because he does not move the needle like some of the more popular golfers out there. You can plug him into fantasy lineups because he makes a lot of birdies. So yes, yes, and yes to all of the above for Patrick Cantlay.
Yeah, I think Cantlay is, I know he's not ranked in the top 5, but if I'm going just top 5 in the world right now off the top of my head, it's got to be DJ, Rahm, JT, Xander, and Cantlay. Like, those are your 5. And I think the thing with Cantlay that I'm curious about, you know, we've talked a lot about this with Xander. He seems a little bit allergic to leads at the time. I'm talking about Xander right now. Is that true of Cantlay? They've had very similar careers. They have very similar statistical profiles. And I do, you know, for somebody, look, like winning 3 times in your first 95 events as a pro on the PGA Tour is unbelievable. That's a career for a lot of guys. It's a good career for a lot of guys. But for somebody like who has the talent level of a Cantlay, I want to see you run away with some stuff. I want to see you lead on Saturday and then shoot a 66 on Sunday and beat everybody by 3 or 4 strokes. Now, again, easy for me to say, but if you're a top 5 guy, that's the stuff that Jon Rahm does. That's the stuff that Dustin Johnson does. And that's sort of what I want to see him kind of evolve into. And I'm curious to see if he will over his next 100 events on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, looking for that next gear. He does find himself at the top of the FedEx Cup standings heading into next week. And it's more can't-miss action on CBS, gentlemen. The week ahead at the Genesis Invitational. It's a star-studded field highlighted by world #1 Dustin Johnson getting back in action. Outside of the, let's call it, micro-analysis of tournament host Tiger Woods' every movement in and out of the golf cart, KP, what's your top storyline to keep an eye on heading into this one?
Well, I think it's DJ, probably. That was my number. Well, besides Spieth this week, DJ was going to be the #1 storyline outside of Spieth going into Pebble, because he's been. I think we look at DJ and we're like, oh yeah, he's doing DJ stuff and whatever. He's been unreal over the last 3 or 4 months. I mean, like, he came into Pebble before he withdrew from the tournament, and he's been playing like twice as good as the second best guy, who was Patrick Cantlay, in terms of strokes gained. That's his numbers right now are off the charts, and I think we're sort of haven't totally been paying attention to that, especially since the Masters. So Riviera is a place where he's thrived. He's played really, really well there in the past. It's obviously an awesome field. I think it's going to be a fascinating week to see if DJ kind of asserts himself as that #1 guy in the world and goes and picks up another win.
The big storyline for me is Riviera. It's the course. Riviera Country Club is phenomenal. This place is magical. There's an amphitheater, a natural amphitheater on 18. Unfortunately, we're not going to have fans there this year. But #1, just a gentle handshake, one of the easiest par 5s on the PGA Tour. It ranked 5th in terms of easiest holes on tour last year. But it's a brute. You get to 10, this iconic risk-reward hole where there's an infinite ways to play it. There's big numbers lurking everywhere. And then you look at the overall composition, and this was the 10th most difficult course on tour last year. This bites back to the world's best players. We have an elite field, an elite course. This is one of my favorite tour stops.
It also begs the question, has Kyle Porter played there?
I have not.
Not out at Rip. Haven't checked the box just yet, but checking every single other box. Our guys from the First Cut podcast, from Pebble Beach to Riv and everywhere in between, Kyle Porter and Gehman bringing us all the latest. Thank you, guys. For more from Kyle and Rick, be sure to download and subscribe to the First Cut podcast. Our guys take you under the ropes and into the action. Kyle Porter, Rick Gehman, Mark Immelman bringing you all the latest on tour. Download and subscribe to the First Cut podcast.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.